So good afternoon again. This is Kalyani doing a live coverage for COP27 for Open Exchange TV. So today we have David Antonioli, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Verra. David, welcome to Open Exchange TV live coverage. And can you tell me something about Verra and your background? Thank you.
Hi, Kalyani. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
Verra is a certifying body. So we set rules and procedures, and projects have to follow those in order to generate units coming out of our certification process. We're most known for the Verified Carbon Standard, the VCS program, which is the largest greenhouse gas crediting program in the world, which means that most of the credits traded on the voluntary market come from the VCS program. They're VCUs, Verified Carbon Units.
Yeah, sure. So carbon offsetting, I mean, there is a debate going on. I've been to so many panels within the COP. There is a debate that carbon offsetting is a waste of time, and how do you verify these projects are really helping to diminish the pollution or the impact the company is creating. How do you actually see this?
Well, I mean, that's exactly what we do, right? Yeah. We spend our time writing rules and making sure that projects are credibly reducing greenhouse gas emissions or removing greenhouse gas emissions from the atmosphere. That's our job. So every credit that we issue is basically a ton of greenhouse gas emissions that has not gone into the atmosphere, or a ton of carbon that's been removed from the atmosphere.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds great. Where do you think the biggest innovation will be happening in the carbon offsetting? I mean, currently, there are some offsetting projects using blockchain. Of course, artificial intelligence is not ruled out, but what is your opinion, David?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. There is a lot of innovation happening in respect of technology. That's huge, and that's going to help streamline the process. I think one of the biggest challenges that we have right now in the market is scaling the work of the carbon markets so that it can be big enough, right? So enabling all these new technology solutions like blockchain, but also digital MOV, digital AI. All those things are going to be great to enable the scaling of the carbon markets.
Perfect. What do you think the big idea will emerge from the COP27 discussions? And I see that you are an observer. I mean, you are in a blue zone, so I'm sure you're following a lot of these negotiations and the adaptation, mitigation. I mean, all those key takeaways from this year's COP seems to be so far. But where do you think the big idea will emerge? Considering adaptation seems to be one of the key points, especially from the emissions perspective.
Well, I mean, from our perspective, the key thing is really speed and scale. And I think the challenge that we're facing, all of us in the voluntary carbon markets and the regulated markets, is how do we enable the finance to flow in a way that's credible and thoughtful, but also has rigor and at scale. So it kind of goes back to my earlier point that much of this is going to be based on technologies, but also new procedures, and helping to build out this market, which is so critical for the long-term sustainability of the world.
Great. So David, the Open Exchange TV audience mainly consists of buy-side community like investment managers, fund managers, financial advisors, and research specialists. Do you have any message for ESG-focused fund managers? Someone who's very actively engaging with the companies and helping them to disclose about their emissions. What message do you have for them?
Yeah, it's a great point. One of the key things that needs to be resolved in terms of the carbon markets is what kind of claims companies can make. And those are really, really important. There's a really important working group or initiative called the Voluntary Carbon Markets Integrity Initiative. And they're working to set out the rules and the definitions for what kinds of claims companies can make when they're reducing emissions and buying offsets to compensate for the residual emissions. And having clarity on that is going to be very, very helpful. So I would say follow those guidelines. Hopefully they'll come out early next year with clear guidance, and that'll give kind of a clear blueprint for how to engage with climate change, climate finance, and potentially carbon markets, if that's what they want to do.
So do you advise the GHG protocol still is a good disclosure to follow how the companies are disclosing their Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3 emissions in the portfolio, right? I mean,
But the greenhouse gas protocol is about how you account for the numbers, right? And that's great. We need clear rules on how that's done. And the greenhouse gas protocol is very good about that. This VCMI is about the kinds of claims that companies can make. How do you call the things that you're doing? And it's really important that we have clarity and consistency across the board so that we're all familiar and know, for example, what the term carbon neutral means or climate friendly. We need to have a consistent set of rules for what those terms mean, and hopefully that's hopefully the work
especially for the fund managers, it should be consistent. There should be more clarity what the companies are telling and they're doing. Exactly. And I mean, it's not just mere lip service, but I mean, they should be able to action and implement it, right? I mean, towards journey towards a net zero. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
You said it exactly. So there's a journey towards net zero.
Yeah.
Right. And ideally, companies have net zero targets to begin with.
Yeah.
They're meeting them across time. And then ideally, if they want or they can actually compensate for the residual emissions. That's a sweet spot. That's where carbon markets come in.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's what we need to have consistency. So when a company is saying that they're doing X, we all recognize what that means. And that's why you need a consistent set of guidelines for what kinds of claims companies are making.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, David. Appreciate your time for the Open Exchange TV live coverage. Look forward to seeing you again in the next year's COP again, and take care. Bye.